Explain to us what we need to know about this Meta and Nvidia deal.
So yesterday, NVIDIA and Meta announced what they call a multi-year strategic partnership. And there are lots of different prongs to the deal, but I think the main news of it was that Meta was really publicly committing to go deeper with NVIDIA as it relates to technology. They said that they're going to install millions of NVIDIA GPUs, the Blackwell GPUs that are out right now, and the Vera Rubin chips that are due out in a couple months. And Meta is going to use NVIDIA CPUs to run traditional workloads, use NVIDIA networking. NVIDIA engineers are going to help Meta refine its AI models. So there's a lot there, but I mean, the announcement was interesting because Meta and NVIDIA have long been partners, but for whatever reason, they wanted to get out this announcement yesterday and sort of confirm to the world that they will continue working together in the future.
And I think this was it wasn't your prediction, but I think there were others at the information who made the prediction that there could be a broader tie up coming between NVIDIA and Meta. And so this was certainly something that was on our radar. Now, you reported late last year that Meta was also in talks with Google about potentially using their TPUs in their data centers. Do we have any reporting on if this deal would impact that, if one is to replace the other?
Yeah. So, especially in the cloud and chip world, we're seeing companies pursue lots of different options when it comes to which cloud providers they're using and which chips they're using. We reported, like you said, in late November that Meta was in discussions with Google to use TPUs, both renting TPUs from Google and putting TPUs potentially in Meta's own data centers. And as far as we know, we don't know that much more about how the deal has progressed. But I would say from conversations and calls yesterday, people in the industry do not necessarily see this NVIDIA announcement as a sign that the Google deal is dead. But that was kind of everyone's initial reaction. So I think Jensen is obviously watching the market and who's using which chip, and potentially seeing that Meta was considering using Google could have prompted them to say, "Hey, let's make sure that we have, something in place with Meta." Now, we don't know the terms of the Meta Nvidia deal and whether this means Meta is going to get discounts on Nvidia gear. So lots more to find out.
We have talent trackers here at the information, and the latest talent tracker that we put together, that you put together, was a list of the data center executives that should absolutely be on our audience's radar as the data center story gets more and more heated. Tell us a little bit about what your reflections were from this reporting, and then we'll get into who was actually on the list specifically.
Sure. So I remember a couple months ago hearing about all the crazy stories in AI research land. The direct phone calls from Mark Zuckerberg, the crazy offers. And over the past couple of months, it became very clear to me that a very similar dynamic was happening in the data center sector. The types of people we highlighted on the list are not CEOs. They're not really people that you see out and about talking about their companies, but they're I would say secret weapon maybe at their companies in terms of getting data center capacity online quickly and on budget. These are sort of the types of people that, everyone is trying to poach and who are highly compensated at their firms to stay. So I thought it would make sense to highlight some of those people and get them on everyone's radar because these are people who are going to be very important as deadlines approach. Everything is going to kind of fall on them.
Okay, so who's on the list? Give us a couple of the names.
So a couple of the names, one is Chris Dolan from Crusoe. He's a very key figure in developing OpenAI's data center in Abilene, Texas. We have Rachel Peterson, a longtime Meta employee, who's vice president of their data centers. And we have some rising stars too, like FluidStack's Corey Smith, who a lot of people worked with when he was at Oracle. So there are 16 people in total. Highly recommend checking it out, but those are a few people.
What about the backgrounds of all these people? I mean, are these all people that share real estate experience in their history? Are they people that were former startup founders that then got acquired and took over the operations? Are there any common threads connecting this group at all?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And as I talk to folks, People really said you should look at everyone's background because that will kind of tell you everything you need to know about whether they are this key person that you're looking for. And I would say broadly, a lot of people on the list have been in the data center sector for 20 plus years. So they were working on data centers before they were cool, before they had anything to do with AI. And you'll see a lot of people with roles like head of design, engineering, and construction. Some people actually did work at construction companies before, like a general contractor that worked on behalf of a hyperscaler. You see some well-known data center names like Digital Realty, Equinix. So those are the types of people that really made the cut for the list. But it's interesting. One person on the list actually came out of retirement to get back into the sector. So, and there's one person we
Who
mentioned.
who was that? Who was that person? Who came out of retirement?
That one was Chris Dolan, who was advising
Right.
CISO and then decided to join full time.
So he came back, and so are all these people getting paid pretty handsomely now? More than they were 10 years ago when data centers were not as closely watched.
Exactly. I mean, you can imagine if you come out of retirement or, make a big shift, 30 years into your career, you're likely getting heavily compensated for it. But yeah, like we said in the story, some of these pay packages are above 10 million, and that was not the case a couple of years ago. So I think this, role that's always existed and always been important has just suddenly become so vital that, they're getting paid the top dollar at their company.
Okay, and before you go, there were also a couple free agents that you said that we should be watching. People that are not currently at companies that you think